On this edition of Willard Scott's Home and Garden Almanac, go west, young man and young woman. Discover a Southwest-style garden you can make in your own backyard. Check out an authentic Southwest home. Then go behind the barn door for some Native American treasures. Stay tuned as the Almanac heads out on a Southwest adventure. Wagons, ho! Howdy, partner. Willard the Kid here, down on the farm in the Shenandoah Valley. You know, the Southwest United States has some of the most beautiful countryside in the world, and I mean that. New Mexico, Utah, Arizona, I love them all. And today, my friend Holly Chamizu from the U.S. Botanic Gardens in Washington, D.C., is going to show us how to bring some of that wild beauty right into your own backyards, no matter where you live. Holly, I'm glad to have you as a friend and a fellow gardener. And I got to ask you, when, you know, all of this stuff you brought with you, you think this goes back to some time when we were a throwback as kids? We used to play with mud pies.
Absolutely. It was my favorite thing to do.
Go out and stomp in,
right.
wet puddles. You do such nice work, and you actually create this. But you tell them what you're going to do with this.
All right. Well, this is a trough garden, okay? And these are really suitable to anywhere in the U.S., but particularly in hot places where you want to grow things that will tolerate really hot situations.
What is this?
All right, well, this is actually a combination of cement, okay, and then you put into it some peat moss, we'll show, and we'll make our goop, kind of our mud pie.
Back to mud pie.
Okay. That gives a texture, you can see, and this thing has good aeration, and then we'll put in some grit. Okay, you can put in perlite or grit, and you want the whole idea is for it to have texture. Okay, and then we're going to put a little water in it. I make my little goop here, stir it around, and it's different every time, and you need space and you need to be able to make a mess.
And you also told me that if you don't like to make a mess and if you don't have the space, you can go to your friendly garden center, and most of them have these already made, right?
They do,
so you can
yeah.
Buy a container.
And once you get it with enough water with the right texture, you could even do it on a cinder block. And you could put this on, it needs a little more water, but you would put it on there, and then you would texture it when it gets hardened enough, and then you would get the beginnings of your trough. But one thing that you have to remember is the drainage hole in the bottom. See how this has the wire?
Right.
And so before we plant it, what I always like to do is put some rocks in, because I never want that drainage hole to get blocked, because the moment that happens, the plants begin to die. So we gathered some rocks. We'll put those in. And I always use a soil that has good drainage. So you know that chicken grit, which you've got lots of around here? We've got a good soil right there. See how it's got lots of grit
And that
in
looks like Southwestern soil.
It is, you're right.
That's a big factor.
Yeah.
The soil is different all over the country, different places.
That's right. And so people can find anything that will grow well in their area that's heat-loving. So I got a sampling of plants for color and plants that will survive here in the wintertime. And it will need natural rainwater and then a little supplemental rain or water during the dry periods. Now,
are all these plants designed to use as little water as possible, or do you have to use a lot of water with them?
You don't have to. See, you can. What you should do, think about where the plants grow in the wild, and then you want to, if they're from dry areas, you know they're probably going to do well. And I picked some color here, but I also got some plants which also love dry conditions, which will stick in, like this sage, which is from the Southwest.
And it smells so good.
It smells so good.
I guess one of the problems you might run into is people tend to used to watering plants would overwater these, and that can hurt them, I guess.
That's true. And the other thing is you always put them on a stand, like this one, which has been put on a stand so that the vermin won't get the plants and get in there and eat them. And the other thing is that you always keep it where it's not getting direct sunlight in the middle of the day, but direct sunlight in the morning and the evening would work. And I'll prune these or keep them small as necessary, but you can even make these with alpine plants.
Before we say goodbye here, I want to show you something. This is a very nice videotape that Holly made last year.
Yes.
Beautiful tape on growing herbs. but this videotape is available at better gardening centers everywhere.
That's right.
And catalogs, too. Good luck with the tape. Thanks an awful lot, Chief Horticulturist for the Botanic Gardens in Washington, D.C., Holly Shimizu. We're delighted you could be with us.
Thanks, Willard.
It's a pretty day. You've created a real masterpiece here. I learn something every day. If I'd keep my mouth shut, I'd learn more. And when we come back, we're going to take a look at some of the oldest architecture in the United States, Southwestern style. Partner, where's my hat? Oh, wait, I got to have a horse now. Excuse me, ma'am. Welcome back, Home and Garden fans. You know, long before this old farm was here and way before most of us set foot on this continent, Native Americans were designing and building beautiful adobe homes in the Southwest United States. Right now, let's go out to California to meet Brian and Bonnie Jeanette, a modern-day couple who's used some of these ancient techniques to make their home just gorgeous. Take a look.
Willard, welcome to our southwestern home. Glad you came. Our southwestern home may look very unique in a Southern California neighborhood where you're not used to seeing this style, but in actuality, the Santa Fe southwestern style is over 900 years old in this area of California and the Southwest. Come on in the house. Let me show you the rest of our home. And let me introduce you to the architect who designed our wonderful place. Brian?
Yes. Hi, Willard. How are you? Come in, come in. You've just come through the entry, and what I'd like to do is show you our art wall at the end of the dining room. These 6 nichos actually contain many of the Indian artifacts that we have been collecting over the years. Down in the lower corner, we have little mud head with his little buddy, the watermelon man, which are Hopi Indian kachinas. Above that, we have little dolls, little kachinas that were carved by the children of the tribes. And above that is a little wedding vase. In the middle nicho, we have a Pima basket made in the same fashion they've been making over the last few hundred years.
In our dining room, you're going to see the shutters that we picked up in Santa Fe that are wonderful shutters. This is made of cottonwood, and they're banded with pine, which makes them lightweight. Up on the wall, we've got a petroglyph indicative of the Mexican cave paintings of our family. You see our 2 sons with us, and the deer represents our fondness for the wilderness, which we spend as much time in as we can. Here's our living room, family room. It's a casual space. We're not very formal people. And this wonderful cigar Indian, we acquired at a local store here, a local liquor store. Had to haggle for the price a bit, but we do enjoy them. Come look at the masks that we've collected from all over the world. And actually, these are not just our collection. Friends bring them to us from all over. We've got masks here from the Eskimos of Alaska.
This is an interesting mask. It's a leather mask from Italy. We actually got it in San Gimignano, and it's a carnival mask. They would wear this guy and dance around the city after having a lot of wine, I'm sure. The ceilings are what we call vegas, which are white fir tree sections brought down from the local mountains. They're hand-hewn and sanded and then put back up. Important to let them dry. Also working in this style is the very traditional southwestern Beehive Fireplace. It's a great place to decorate with the kachina dolls as well as other carvings and plants and other nichos that surround it, which you'll see right behind you.
So come on in the bedroom and we'll show you another example of a wonderful Beehive Fireplace.
Well, and here we are in the master suite, and we've had some local craftsmen here help bring out that southwestern feeling for us. One is our headboard, which is one piece that has these latillas, which are pine elements that radiate from the center, and then the Arizona flagstone tops on both of the end tables.
And we had them incorporate drawers concealed into the elements of the framing of it. And then we have a special area that's our sitting area. We particularly enjoy this.
Our banco, as we call it, is actually made of sheepskin rug. And down below, we have about 1 inch of foam rubber so that you can make it extremely soft and comfortable.
Great place to enjoy a good book on a winter evening in front of a fabulous fireplace. Let me show you what we've done here. We didn't want to have to burn wood, which is hard to maintain when you're trying to relax. And so we've put rocks in that we collected from the favorite beach of ours in Cabo San Lucas. And this is only part of the master suite.
And here we are in our master bathroom. And again, going along with the Santa Fe style is very clean, simple lines, as well as the black and turquoise being quite strong in the American Indian motif. Also, the cabinets and the Pullman are pine with the soft radius edges, which reflect the same as the wall design in the house. And the planking in the middle of it have all been hand carved out.
And then here's our shower where we have continued the tile motif, and we've got 2 shower heads in here that help us in the morning since we both seem to hit the bathroom shower at the same time.
The glass block here obviously is very much the type of material that came out of the 30s, and we're refreshing and reusing it today. It's not only around the shower, but here it is also around the bathtub. And you can see that we use 2 different types of block to let the sunlight in, but yet diffuse the sunlight that's coming in.
The doors throughout the house are all hand carved and hewn by a wonderful contractor, Butch Whittick, who helped us build our house. And this opens up to a wonderful private space. Now on the inside, our goal was to bring the outside in. Now we're on the outside on a private little deck off the bathroom, and we are bringing the inside out with an outside shower.
It's the best thing in the world to get done with my morning run, come out here, jump in the shower, wave to my neighbors. Fortunately, the nice high fence keeps it private. But that's really an important thing about the Southwestern design. It's simple, it's clean, it fits in any neighborhood. It's not an expensive thing to build, and most people get very comfortable with a very casual lifestyle that you can get out of the house. We really appreciate your coming and enjoying our home with us.
And Willard, next time you come, I'll make you tortilla soup.
Right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for coming.
Hey, I'll take you up on that one. That's my favorite soup, Bonnie. Thanks. When we come back, Bonnie and Brian are going to go out on a limb and show us how to make a great-looking banister that you won't see anyplace else. So stick around, cowpokes. Cowboy Willard back riding the range again with Brian and Bonnie Jeanette. And they're going to show us how to create a pretty and functional stairway banister out of materials that you can find in your own backyard. Hey, Bonnie. Hey, Brian.
Hi, Willard.
Hi, Willard.
Welcome back to our house. I want to show you a clever idea we came up with for our circular stair rail. It's kind of tough to get a piece of wood that will bend in a circular fashion. And we decided to come up with something that would be much like the Native Americans might have done if they had the same problem, and look for something that was flexible and bendy. We found a neighbor's willow tree. And as you can see, the willow branches are very smooth. They're extremely flexible. And we thought, gee, you know, we could put a whole bunch of these together, and I bet we could bend that and make a strong handrail. So that's what we did, and we're going to show you how we did that. You cut the branches as long as you possibly can, and then you're going to want to pull off the leaves, and they do pull off very easily if you just run your fingers on them backwards. Brian's going to take off the side branches because those are too weak to utilize. And when you put these together, you want to flip-flop them. You don't want to have all your thick ends at one end. When you bunch them and squeeze them, those little secondary branches that were still attached remain just fine, and they sort of squeeze in place, as you can see. We use a piece of leather goods, just literally scraps that you get from a local craft store, for the ends, and they come in different dye colors, so pick whatever matches your particular house motif. Wrap that around at the end where you'll terminate it, and then you're going to use a long strip of lacing, also from from a craft store. This sells for about 75 cents a foot, and comes in also all different colors. So you tie on your end.
You could use small, thin strips of rawhide as well.
And this is leather. And then you just want to start lacing and wrapping so that you give the texture and the appearance of something that was made in the out of doors. Now, we've got some friends who are in the metal business who do this for us, but you can go to any metalsmith, metal foundry, and ask them to make you a bracket just like this. This is a piece of half-round pipe that has been cut into a strip and then cut in half. We had them put holes in each end of the yoke there. This one is made with a bend so that you can get a side mount on a handrail. Now you're going to attach this to your bracket, and you're going to have to play around with it, of course, because you'll have a different situation than I have here, freestanding, but basically you're going to want to thread through a couple of pieces into the holes that you've provided for yourself.
I'm going to be the wall over here holding onto the bracket,
which would have been screwed into the wall at this point. And you literally pull this up and tie it on.
and so with this you have something that's very flexible. It'll adapt to any shape. You can take this and do it in your own homes. It's very inexpensive to make because there's no real cost to this at all. The bracket is your cost and a little bit of leather.
Willard, I think you could try this on your farm.
I bet you could.
And I'm sure you'll find you've got trees around that area that'll do just the same thing for you. Simple application, and it looks great.
Hey, thank you, too. Maybe I can make an apple tree bathtub or a birch fireplace. Well, don't you touch that dial, folks, because coming up behind the barn door, a Native American takes us way back. Hey, listen, if you have any questions or comments, we would love to hear from you. All you have to do is write to us here at Willard Scott's Almanac, care of HGTV, Box 50970, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37950. Now, be sure to include this edition's episode. And we'd love to hear from you. The mail is pouring in. We want to hear from you. Howdy, folks. Hey, it's your old Uncle Willard right here at my very, and I mean very, favorite place on the farm, the old barn. And today, we're going to go behind the barn door for a glimpse into the lives of the very first settlers of this beautiful land. Open, barn door. On our program today, we've talked a lot about the Southwest and the influence of the Native Americans on the Southwest and our culture. And today we welcome to our show a chief from the East. A lot of people don't realize some of the biggest Indian nations in North America were right here in the East.
That's right.
Many right here in Virginia. Chief George White Wolf of the Monacan Indians, and we are glad that you could be with us.
I'm glad to be here.
And you really are glad to be here, aren't you?
I am.
Just got out of the hospital, what, 2 days ago?
Yesterday.
Isn't that something? And he just so could be with us. And who were the Monacans and what is their story?
Monacan's been here for 10 to 12,000 years. We're part of the Sioux people. We speak the Sioux language, and we have a whole culture and a whole spirituality and a whole thing about us that we have always been. And what makes us different than other Indians in the state of Virginia is that we were all alone here in the mountains.
You're the chief. Were you elected chief?
I'm the spiritual leader and ceremonial chief of the Monacan tribe, elected by the people for that. My job is to teach the people the old ways.
And you're a native-born Virginian as well, right?
Yeah, right?
Really a native.
Really a native.
Well, some of them used to watch me when I was bozo, show you how young he is.
That's right.
That's right. Well, you've got some vessels, I guess you'd say.
These are old pots, and we brought them to show the folks that even though this pot here, right here, a cooking pot might be 10,000 years old, it's still a real cooking pot.
What's it made of?
This is made of clay. Clay from the river banks. And here's a bowl that you would pour soup from this pot into and this pot into, and in these you would then eat. This here, we have a gourd. And this is a gourd, you don't put hot stuff in it, but you store water in it.
And this is a great gourd. Here's a natural-built water bowl.
This is a water gourd, and if you fill this full of water, it sets up like this, and when you pour it, it's just like a pitcher. You just pour. God made these for us to use.
I was going to say, and this is neat. I love this. You said you got this off a tree?
This is a burl. On the side of a tree, you see a lot of big trees, oak trees and all, they'll have a knot sticking out of them. You cut that knot off the tree, and you hollow it out, and you have a bowl.
Now, this intrigues me. I think I know what this is.
Do you really?
I know what it was.
What was it?
It was a turtle
Well,
shell.
what is it now?
I have no idea.
Well, I'm going to show you. You take the turtle shell.
Right.
That's a plate.
Right.
When you turn it upside down, you can put your vegetables in there and eat it. We'll have a tomato here from Willard's farm.
Okay.
People think of stone knives as being dull. This is a stone knife.
Look at that. Holy mackerel.
See how it slices through that tomato?
Isn't that?
It's sharp as a razor.
And how do they keep the stone on the stick? Is that tied with some?
That's tied with sinew and glue. It's an obsidian stone.
Beautiful.
It's about 2,000 years old or so, roughly.
And it really does cut.
And it cuts.
Of all the things that are happening in the last 10 years, Indian awareness in America, Native American awareness, what would you like to see happen to the Native Americans in a positive sense?
I would like to see the states and the governments give us the opportunity to buy back certain portions of our sacred land or retain certain portions of our land as sacred. And we need that in order to be a complete entity again as a nation.
Chief George White Wolf, spiritual leader of the Monacan Indians, thank you for being our guest today.
Thank you for having me here.
The barn has never been graced with a lovelier man. Thank you. And thank you all for joining us on our journey to the past. It's been quite a trip. Until next time, this is Willard Scott reminding you to keep your home and your garden filled with lots of love.
Accommodations and meals in Lexington, Virginia provided by Best Westerns, the Inn at Hunt Ridge.